I'm Gab, he's Jules. Blue skies over West London. Jules, what a show we have.
Yeah.
No remontada for Barcelona.
No.
Some snooze fest at the between Como and Inter. But it's all about the Premier League this midweek, I think, because the lead is back up to 7.
Yeah.
Arsenal win 1-0 at Brighton. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Liverpool lose. United lose against 10 men. But let's start at the Etihad. Manchester City and Forest. City twice take the lead. Forest twice come back.
Yeah.
2 tremendous goals from Forest. The upshot here is that the lead is 7 points. We needed a Murillo at the end of the game making a goal line clearance in the 99th minute. The fact that he was there and made that clearance means that the lead is 7 points. City do have a leading game in hand.
Yeah.
They have the head-to-head. They no longer control their destiny.
The head-to-head.
Well, they have the head-to-head game against Arsenal, meaning that if they win that game...
Oh, yeah.
But
that would still be not enough, obviously.
That's what I mean. They don't control their destiny. Until this day, they did. Cause
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's a big result, really. I don't think many saw coming because at home to Forest, the Forest team that is, battling and struggling, fighting not to go down. Maybe a slight improvement since... the change of managers. We love Vitor Pereira, and they should have got at least a point against Liverpool at home, for example. They didn't late. And in this game, to be fair, I think they can play another 99 times and would not get nothing because there was not much from them. But to be fair, City should have defended better, certainly on the 2 goals they conceded.
I wonder, because we saw him change things around. I think he knew what was coming. He knew you were going to get a back 5 from Forest. He played the creative players, not just Shirky, but Foden as well. Erling Haaland was back. I look at this, so clearly the plan was to go and somehow unlock. We saw Savinho and Doku with the one-on-ones later. Doku just coming off an injury. I'm still a little bit not impressed, though, because I take your point. They had enough chances in the first half.
They should have won the game.
But in the end... numbers 0.31 expected goals in the first half. So that tells me that those were not high quality chances that they had in the first half.
Yeah. And the Semenyo goal is the big chunk of this XG that you read out. Anyway, I think Nico Riley is the biggest miss here, even for what he can bring out of possession, which was the problem yesterday. They conceded 2 goals because they were not good enough without the ball, which is not the first time and not probably the last time this season, where Guardiola is still trying to find the best formula. And I think Nico Riley is part of the best formula, and him not being there was a problem because it hurt them. But with the ball, probably not enough, very congested, a lack of creativity, lack of ideas probably sometimes.
If Nico Riley is your best solution, the guy that you were having playing left back, as an emergency left back earlier in the season because Ryan Aït-Nouri was injured or not there, I think you start to have ask questions about your recruitment and your team building and what happened in the summer. Tijani Reinders, of course, on the bench, did not come on. When I look at this, there is an alibi there, and I think maybe this game takes a different turn if that penalty on Erling Haaland had been given. I think we both agree it's the kind of thing where if they give the penalty, VAR is not going to overturn it. And if they don't give it like this one, VAR isn't going to intervene.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think there's a bit of contact, of course, from Sales on Haaland. Is it enough to make Haaland fall? I don't know. I think Sales is quite clever to take his hands away, really, from Haaland, which I think makes a big difference here. I think you could be frustrated if you're City, Guardiola, and Haaland.
Yeah, I personally would have given the penalty. I think he's running. You could make the point, Haaland can avoid him if he wants to. He can jump over him. But I'm also thinking if you go into somebody's path in that way and you don't get the ball anywhere else on the pitch, it's a foul, right? So I think they can be aggrieved there. But I think I'd be more concerned with the way this team is playing. You mentioned defensively some of the wobbles. Offensively, I still expect more output than what we saw certainly in the first half. And I think Pep has things to work on. This idea of changing things around, obviously Marmoush on the bench did not come on, which I think is telling. It doesn't speak to me as like I'm going to make Taylor make a plan for every game. It speaks to me more of I'm going to try something different and until I get things to click and work.
No. I mean, apart from the O'Reilly absence, I think he he started Cherki and Foden because of the opposition, and he knew exactly like how Forest had played. If he'd been another team, he probably would not have started there. Maybe a Marmouche a bit more there, or Doku. So no, I disagree. I think he just adapts his team to the opposition, maybe a bit too much. But I think that's what he does.
I think the too much, I think, is the operative word here. But we're going to break this down further in Gavin Joe's podcast and also bring you celebrate some good things that we saw. Elliot Anderson, he's pretty good. All right, let's continue on this theme because maybe we've been spoiled with Pep and the bar he sets. And I'm not talking about so much the style of play, although clearly you may like it, you may not like it. I don't think there's any argument that it is less effective than it has been in previous years. What I struggle with a little bit is, okay, you've gone through this reset in the last 12 months, you brought in all the young defenders, Kusanov's the only one who's really had an impact, right? And then you go in the summer and you reload Reinders, Cherki, and then you have to reload again in January, Gay, Semenyo. There's no question to me that something went wrong in their recruitment. Because if it hadn't, we wouldn't be in this situation where you need to go and make more signings. Obviously, Guardiola's injury, massive.
Yeah.
And still a big loss today, I think, because honestly, I think with Guardiola at the back, we wouldn't see that kind of defending that we saw. I just think his leadership, his athleticism would have made a difference. But I wonder, I mean, you've gone all season saying, oh, it's a bad league, nobody's good. Okay, fine. But most people have City as the third best team, if not second best team in Europe. Yeah, but I don't know. I think the Gehi and Semenyo signings are market opportunities, really, and you don't think they were necessary? Because if they're market opportunities, they're not necessary.
Well, no, if you can sign them,
I think they're fundamental.
But if you can sign them, everybody would have signed them. So they should, really. I think they're game changers, but they might have been, last January, they were not able to make those kind of level signings. Instead, they had Vitor Reis, Kusanov, Marmouche, who are obviously not the same level as Gehi and Semenyo. So I'm not sure if it's that they got it wrong in the transfer market. They got loads of options, which is great. Guardiola has always changed things around all the time. Certainly at City, Pep Roulette is quite famous. Like he's gone, I don't know how many games in a row without never keeping the same starting 11. And I think there's also the Pep Blinders effect and this team changing, certainly in terms of verticality, pressing and counter-pressing, which we didn't really have before with a kind of new mindset. And that, I think with that comes changes. I don't mind the fact that it changes depending on the opposition, that maybe still looking for what is the most efficient way of playing. I like the 4-2-2-2. I think it's, for the players that he has in a lot of the games, it makes a lot of sense, especially with Nunes and Aït-Nouri as your two fullbacks. Much more than, I don't know, Rico Lewis and O'Reilly at your fullbacks, for example, or something like that. So I think that can work. Yesterday, okay, it didn't fully work, but more for me because how poor they are in defensive transitions, which they've always been this season, last season, the season before. This is not new either. And maybe this is something they could have addressed with a more dynamic kind of defensive-minded midfielders, which they don't. Rodri is not that. And O'Reilly, that's why O'Reilly becomes more important, because he's a bit of that, to be fair, even if he's an attacking midfielder by trade, really. And that's maybe the only way I would say they missed a trick, maybe in all that recruitment of the last 12 months, is in that position.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be very curious to see what happens now that Doku's fit. We saw what Doku was able to do before. If you do go with a 4-2-2-2, unless Doku is your two alongside Holland, there's no room for him in the team, right? Because your fullbacks take up that width.
So but that's why he was very good earlier this season before the injury. Remember the Liverpool game at home? Outstanding in that position.
So
central.
Again, I don't know. Again, he's got to make a choice too.
Sure.
I just think there's such a contrast between this and obviously Arsenal come to mind, but you could also mention Liverpool last season, where there was a very clear tactical identity to this team and where City are now. And if City kept making all these changes and played well, then whatever. I'd be like, aha, look, he's finding the edge. He's getting the marginal gains, but they're not playing well. And
it's not enough.
And you can't just blame Holland all the time for that. although he had a quiet game. A word on Forest. When we talk off air, you were always going on about Elliot Anderson.
Yeah.
I thought even before the goal, the way he was always, obviously he did so much defensive grunt work, but then when he gets the ball, he's always cueing the attack and he's doing it with quality.
Yeah, I think he's outstanding. I think he's an incredible talent who will leave, obviously, Forest at the end of the season, whether they stay up or not. For a big club, I think he's good enough.
Well,
now.
what if Mr. Marinakis gets Forest in the Champions League?
I think
if Forest win the Europa League and he gets in the Champions League, Mr. Marinakis might have something to say about that.
True. And maybe he will want to stay and play in the Champions League, which I would understand. But if he wants the big step up, I think it can happen in the summer. Because, people still say he doesn't score enough or doesn't assist enough. It's because also he plays in a team that...
Super defensive.
Exactly. And I think you put him in a more attacking team on top of everything he will give you in terms of covering ground, defensive ethic, work rate, all of that. He will add more goals, more assists, more kind of like playmaker way, if you want, and playmaker role in a team. I think there's nothing he cannot do. I think he's one of the most complete midfielders in the Premier League, without a doubt. And at such a young age too. It's not like if he was, he'd matured and he was 28, 29, and this had come after experience and seasons and ups and downs. I think the sky is the limit, really.
I think Elliot Anderson becomes so important as well for England at the World Cup.
Start the World Cup.
Because I used to think Adam Wharton could do many of the things that he does. I don't think he can.
They're two different players.
No, but I'm saying is that is the obvious replacement for Anderson, right? You're not going to just put Rice on his own in front of the back four, right?
No. Rice and Anderson, yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is that if Anderson, the reason I'm saying Anderson is so important is Anderson, the gap between Anderson and Wharton, I used to think, okay, pick the foreign player. Wharton's a tremendous passer and whatnot. But a Wharton-Rice midfield is nowhere near as effective as an Anderson-Rice midfield. That's my point.
No. Yeah.
Final point, also Morgan Gibbs-White, another player I really like going back to his Wolves days.
Lovely goal.
That creativity to do that. We're not going to blame we can blame the defenders for what happened before, like not shutting down the cross and the transition.
Yeah.
I think it was 4-on-3. So... for City, you still have the extra man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You shouldn't allow the cross to come in. You shouldn't allow the head at the far post.
Completely.
In the end, we're not going to, was it Ruben Diaz who got fooled? Yeah, I'm not going to blame Ruben Diaz for that.
No, and Donnarumma. We saw, if you like your Bundesliga and Leipzig, Romelu Cruz scored exactly the same goal at the weekend. We've seen them
missing his penalty.
Yeah. We see them scoring because it's if you're that kind of technical player, it's something that you can do. Thierry Henry obviously scored a very famous one too for the last game at Highbury. It's like it's a special skill, but it's a skill that is not too difficult to do either. But to think about it there when he's just run 70 yards on the counter attack in transition is remarkable. And he had a chance in the first half that he squandered. He didn't hit the ball like he should have. He didn't make the right contact. So it was a really good moment for him.
Yeah, I think it's all about the timing of where the defender is to be able to think of it, to do it.
Too,
maybe there's an element of luck.
Yeah, because the defender behind, even without knowing what you're going to do, can block the ball, or Donnarumma can save it if it's on him, But this one was perfect.
Okay, normally I'm not that excited about the relegation scrap, but I like the fact that we have a legit one on now.
Yeah.
I assumed it was Forest and West Ham head to head, but now I don't know because Wolves have put together. If those 12 games in a row hadn't existed, Wolves are creeping up.
Yeah,
Spurs are tumbling. They play this evening as we record on Thursday morning. Dare I ask you your three to go down?
Yeah, I mean, I think even Leeds are for me in it. I've said Leeds all along, so I stay with Leeds because I think they can collapse now between now and the end of the season. They were not good at all this midweek in their game. They've got, I think, a lot of kind of little red flags, just little, and they might well stay up. And I'd be happy for Leeds. I don't really mind. I just think that it's the negative momentum that could come on very quickly when the others apart from Spurs, I guess, seem to be better. West Ham are better, Forest are better, Wolves are better, Burnley will go. So I think it'd be super, super interesting.
Are we going to make a prediction, or are we going to?
Oh no, my prediction is Leeds are going down with Wolves and Burnley.
With
So
Wolves and Burnley. That's what I want. So no shot for
absolutely.
Burnley.
Yeah. No. I think the other three would be okay, but I might be wrong.
I have Burnley, Wolves, and right now I have West Ham, although I genuinely don't know. And you know what? In a couple hours time, if Spurs lose again, who knows? Anything can happen.